You are Locked On Bulls Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Chicago on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bulls Postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. My name is Joe George. You find me on Twitter at JoeGeorge92, Instagram, TikTok at JoeGeorge Radio. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to Locked On Sports Chicago as we go live after every single Bulls, Bears, Cubs, and Notre Dame football game. The Bulls get the win 117-108 over the Boston Celtics. They get their first three-game winning streak of the season. They hand the Celtics their sixth loss of the season. Impressive game from Zach LaVine. So we'll go through the upset. We'll talk about Zach LaVine's dominant performance in this one in the first half and the second half as he sets a season high for his mark this year, and a lot of really impressive bench moments I think that stood out from this game from guys like Taylor Horton-Tucker and Julian Phillips especially. Look, with a banged-up lineup, with no Josh Giddey, we saw kind of a new-look Bulls, but look, man, this is a three-game win streak, and this might be the peak of the season here, honestly. Beating the Boston Celtics in Boston, giving them their sixth loss of the season. We know what's out there right now. We know about the Nikola Vucevic rumors. We know about the Zach LaVine rumors and being connected to the Denver Nuggets, that they're aggressively pursuing him. But for now, we just got to enjoy this one. If you take down the Boston Celtics like this in the middle of the season, be back to 2 games below 500, we don't know what's next for this team. We don't know what happens at the deadline. But a night like tonight was a lot of fun, and Zach LaVine really was just very, very impressive in this game. Look, this game started off, it was Brick City. Like, we've seen this before, where the Bulls and the team they're playing are just putting up shots constantly, and nothing's going in. I mean, Patrick Williams, he hits that first three of the game. He took the first 3 shots of the game, but he only made that first 3. The Bulls were up 7-6, and both teams were 3 for 11 on the court. So it is a slow, sluggish start for both these teams in this game. But Zach LaVine had 7 of the first, 15 for the Bulls. And look, they were only down 25-21 at the end of the first quarter. And frankly, like, watching it, my assumption is that the Bulls are going to get run out of the building because Boston's not going to shoot this way the whole night. And while the Bulls played, I think, good defense in this game, they got a lot of help from Boston just being pretty terrible on a night like tonight. But it doesn't matter. Like, you find a way to get the win with what's in front of you. So they're down by 4 going in to the second quarter. We get maybe my favorite play of the night. That behind-the-back little pass that THT did to Julian Phillips was a sick play. Big dunk there. You got back-to-back threes. The Bulls were down 32-30. They went on a 9-3 run. And this is my first time on my notes where it says Zach LaVine, tough shot. He was taking crazy shots tonight. I mean, they were all over him. Derek White, man, he is a great defender. A bunch of guys on the Celtics played great defense, and they were causing nightmares for the Bulls. And Zach LaVine specifically was really taking advantage. But I think the other important stretch of this game is really what happens, in the fourth quarter when Kristaps Porzingis is not in the game and Ayo really takes over. Early on in the fourth quarter, he had 9 points in the fourth. He ended up with 17, I believe it was, in this game. And he was really, we could just see the Ayo stuff that he does, like where he attacks the paint so fast, with so much velocity, and gets these layups. And he really wasn't able to do that most of this game. But as soon as Porzingis was off the court in the fourth quarter, Ayo just went to work and really kind of gave the Bulls, the lead that they needed before the Celtics kind of had a mental breakdown as well in this game. It's not obviously why the Bulls won, because they won by 9, but to have 3 technical fouls, which I think in game time was within 4 minutes, it felt like it wasn't that much. But Mazzulla gets a tech, followed up very quickly by a Jaylen Brown tech, and then Jason Tatum gets another one. And when you see Tony Brothers at one point, you kind of see the conversation where I think he said, I'm not a great lip reader, but it looked pretty obvious that he said, if you want to stay in this game, it's up to you, basically. Because it was like he was ready to give Tatum another technical foul. So, look, the Celtics kind of unraveled there, but that was because of what the Bulls were doing in the fourth quarter. And just tough shot after tough shot in this game. THT, we'll talk more about him in the final segment of the show tonight and really what he's been doing. But he hit a 3 to tie it in the fourth to put it 90-90. Gets another bucket immediately to put him up 92-90. And honestly, I don't think we can ignore what THT did at the end of the third quarter, where Jason Tatum hits a kind of a wild 3 where, he's trying to draw the foul, moves out of the way, he hits it, and Horton-Tucker just running, fullback running down the court and just kind of lobs it up there in this, like little pop shot, and it banks off the backboard and goes in to keep the Bulls within, I believe it was 4 at the end of the third quarter as well. So you're just getting all these different performances tonight where they're just, playing really good team basketball. That Patrick Williams, I would say this was his best game back since the injury. But they played really, really good basketball on a night where guys who've been important for you this year, like Jalen Smith, Modest Buzelis, goose eggs. I mean, Jalen Smith didn't take a shot in this game. I actually think I hope that's not a mistake on the ESPN box score but now that I think back, I don't think Jalen Smith took a single shot tonight. So Jalen Smith doesn't take a shot. He has 0 points. Modest Buzelis goes 0 for 3. He has 0 points. So your bench units, really Julian Phillips and THT, are really the guys kind of doing the work. And because Lonzo was not good tonight. He was 1 for 7. But your starters were hitting buckets when it mattered most. Kind of a quiet night for Vooch offensively, only 16 points, but he had 14 rebounds. And the biggest frustration with this game is there was so many times that Vooch was matched up with a guy like Tatum or Jaylen Brown in the post, and occasionally they would go to him. And when they did, it looked almost effortless, where he was just flicking the ball up there for an easy bucket. But really, a lot of times the Bulls had that mismatch in this game, and they really just didn't go to it. And it didn't hurt them because they got the win. So, look, you take advantage of a team when they're not shooting the ball very well. We know what the Bulls are this season. They're going to put up shots. And yes, this is the lowest points the Boston Celtics, I believe Adam Amin said the entire season. Wouldn't shock me. A team that's shooting over 53s a game right now just wasn't good. But the Bulls, after that first quarter where both teams were really struggling, they really just kind of took advantage by staying in the game and hanging with Boston toe-to-toe throughout this entire game. And really in the fourth quarter, we're just able to pull away with it. And, whether it's Vooch or Io or LaVine in the fourth, those guys were just coming through in the clutch when it mattered most. And I'll say it again. I'll say it, 15 more times, however many shows we have left of these postcast shows until the trade deadline. I'll never quit Zach LaVine until he's not a Bull because of performances that he can do on nights like this, where he just absolutely is coming through clutch time and time again and really just leading the way. But again, not enough credit, I think, will go to Io Dusimo tonight and what he did in the fourth quarter when Porzingis was not on the court, the effort that he had. I can't remember if it was him on the ground. I think it was, yeah, because he had for the jump ball. When the two technical fouls happened, it was his effort, that led to that. It was another steal that they had in this game from Io. So they're just all over the place. And to get a win like this, it was a lot of fun. Get to move to 13-15 on the season and take down the Boston Celtics. It really is sad that this might be the peak of the season, but they didn't beat Boston in 2 years. That's the way it's been for the Bulls, but not being able to beat Boston in 2 seasons to get a win on a night like this against the defending NBA champions, where even though they shot poorly, you take it when you can get it and you enjoy it when you got it. And Zach LaVine, Io, these guys had a great night and just got the Bulls the victory. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here to the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. We go live after every single Bulls game, Bears game, Notre Dame football game, including Friday night. We'll have a special show after they play Indiana in the first round of the college football playoff, and eventually every single Chicago Cubs game this season. Let's talk about Zach LaVine a little bit more because he was incredible tonight. Not just in the first half, 20 points, but a season-high points for Zach LaVine. We'll get into that next here on the Locked On Sports Chicago postcast, on the Locked On Bulls postcast, and the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel. Today's episode is brought to you by BILT. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to BILT, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable BILT points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments with over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program. The possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to BILT members right now. Start earning points on rent. You're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure you use our link, joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA, so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Let's talk about Game Time. Game Time, my go-to app to buy tickets for any event coming up, whether it's concert, game, whatever you got going on. Game Time is the app that you should be using. Coming up right now, we're looking at getting tickets to my son's first basketball game coming up here in the next week or two. We're using Game Time to get our tickets for that. You can always get a great deal because of Game Time picks. It makes curation easier to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all of that stuff and more. And you can see all-in pricing. By toggling this feature, it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees. We know that's always the absolute worst. When you get to the checkout process and there's a ton of fees you did not expect. And honestly, my favorite thing for Game Time is always, especially if I'm going to a new stadium, is the seat view that you can see. I always tell people if they're going to Chicago, they're going to a Cubs game for the first time, make sure you use that seat view because you never know what you're going to see at Wrigley Field, aka a giant pole right in front of you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. So Zach LaVine was absolutely incredible in this game. He has 20 points in the first half. Like we said there, 7 points of the first 15 for the Bulls. So as Boston and Chicago are both struggling early, like that's where you need a guy like Zach LaVine, where as this team is constructed and you're trying to win basketball games, like you need him to come through. And he just did that so many times in this one. And I will enjoy these games that we have left. I do expect Zach to be traded by the deadline, but on a night like tonight, to have 7 of 15 of the first 15, 20 points in the first half, and to have a season-high 36 points, he was just really all over the place. He even had some really good defensive moments in this game. Like, we know what LaVine is. Like, we know he's got a, when it matters kind of effort that he can pull out on defense, and he was doing that tonight at various times against the Boston Celtics. Really just the most impressive part of this was it's the shot selection of Zach LaVine. He is maybe the ultimate no, absolutely yes guy the Bulls have had in so long. I really don't even know like who comps to this. Like, it's not Ben Gordon. It's definitely not D Rose. Like, I don't know like who, just a guy who just pulls up from these, crazy tough threes where Derek White is in his face and he's just getting as little space as possible and just jacking up a three and it's going in. It's just, there's really no one I feel like we've seen for the Bulls in a long time where it just, everything looks like such a bad idea, but then can go so well for Zach LaVine. And that's really what was working tonight. But my favorite shot was in the fourth quarter where the Bulls are kind of sputtering a little bit. Boston's slowly getting back into the game. Like, you can tell like it's kind of teetering a little bit, but Zach just does what Zach does, and he gets to the mid-range, hits the shot, easy money, and it really just kind of kept the Bulls lead where it was through the game. And a couple times tonight we also saw like the really aggressive up and under attacking to the paint that he can do so often. And a night where Vooch is not at his best, and Lonzo Ball, who has not been a great offensive player in his return from the wrist injury, is 1 for 7 from the field. And like I said, you got no points from Jalen Smith, no points from Modest Buzelis. Like, this is where you need these guys. You need Zach specifically to step up against a team like Boston. And they talked about it before the game, like Casey Johnson did with Adam Amin and Stacey King, that he is aware of what's happening, of what's the rumors on the street. And I think it's just so impressive to see guys in professional sports be just like the consummate like professionals and not let the outside noise when there's so much for so many years, and it finally feels like this is the time where something is going to happen, to just have a performance like this. And really what it is it's just, again, like it's a giant showcase. Like, this is best case scenario for the Chicago Bulls, is nights like tonight, because this is what attracts Zach LaVine to the Denver Nuggets. This is what, if it was, the Lakers or anyone, like, this is a game where you look at LaVine and you're like, this is why a good team should trade for him. And there are negatives with it, of course, but a night like tonight, like, you're just getting such good offensive play from him that it really, it just kind of raises the trade market for what, you can get. And not just that, what you can get, but I would think that the appetite, I really, it is a shame. Like, I've said this before, and it's been a little bit since we've done a show because there was some conflicts with the Bears games, but I'll say it again. Like, I think this is the absolute best basketball that we've seen Zach LaVine play as a member of the Chicago Bulls throughout his entire tenure, where he's playing really good team basketball. He's selective with his shots for the most part, and he's been clutch in moments where you need him, like he was just all over the place tonight. So I can't say enough good things about the dominant performance. Like, this is one of those games where you absolutely do not win, no matter how bad Boston's shooting, without an elite scorer like Zach LaVine. So we'll enjoy it while we can, because I know there are a lot of people that are just tank, and trade him as fast as possible. Well, that's just not the reality of the way this season's going to play out for the Bulls. Like, they're going to have to wait a little bit before a potential trade actually comes to fruition. And this might also just be like the last, big moment for LaVine as a member of the Bulls. Like, a trade could go down any day. It will most likely be, like I just said, around the deadline when it actually happens. But like, he was impressive tonight. And it's a shame that there wasn't able to build a better team, I think, around him. But he's really just, I think, rubbed off on the young guys this season really well as well. Like, just the confidence that he has. And you look, and not to, ding Kobe White too much, but he still really is struggling. Like, he really hasn't had like that full return to form, and I'm not worried about that for the long haul. But 4 for 11 it was tonight, 1 for 5 from the 3-point line, 12 points. He's just not giving what you need. He gets a big bucket there at the end where, like, it's funny listening to Stacey King on the broadcast. He's like, slow it down, and then Kobe just whips right by a Celtics defender and gets the easy layup because they were playing soft defense. But like, just a really dominant, impressive performance from Zach LaVine in this game. And I'll just keep saying it. Like, I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm glad it was tonight, because we got to enjoy as much, good basketball as we can. Like, the Bulls this season, if anything, they're fun. They are a fun basketball team to watch. And, it is like, their first 3-game win streak of the year. So we know what the kind of the bumps in the road have been. And this is an incredibly tough stretch for the Bulls. But they moved to 9-6 on the road. And look, they play Boston again in 2 days. So on Saturday night, we'll be doing another one of these postcast shows after they play the Boston Celtics once again, that time in Chicago. But Zach was awesome. Io was great in this game, specifically again in the fourth quarter. And you really got some really valuable moments from really just two guys on the bench. But really I just really loved what I saw from THT, and we're going to talk more about that in the next segment. He's a lot of fun to watch. Like, watching him play a little bit in high school at Simeon when I was covering high school basketball in Chicago when I was going to Columbia College Chicago, and which like kind of makes me feel old, I would say, in a little bit of a way that he's playing for the Bulls. But like, there's just been, it really was a good offensive night, and I think the Bulls, like, we haven't touched too much on this, but while Boston did struggle offensively and were just missing a lot of the shots on their own, I thought like they really stepped up in a big way for defense. And I know the last time we did a show, I kind of was just venting about these early timeouts that we were seeing in quarters where the Bulls looked vastly unprepared to start the second and third quarter of one of their, like, it was like 2 or 3 games ago, where they were just totally flat-footed, and we didn't see that tonight. So whatever Boston was, giving the Bulls tonight, like, they were ready to answer for it. So you give Boston their 6th loss of the season, you get your 13th, you move to 2 games under 500, and a lot of season left to go. But this is probably this might be the best win of the year when we look back at the 2024-2025 season. This win, even though you got a couple 20-point comebacks, just really to battle tough this entire game. Definitely best win of the season, I would imagine, for the Chicago Bulls. So when we get back, let's talk about these performances, some highlights, I would say, from Julian Phillips and THT tonight. Both guys coming off the bench. And, look, again, without Josh Giddey, without Dalen Terry, with the injuries that you have on this roster, you need some guys to step up to win games like this. And those two guys, I think, really led the way for the Bulls to help them get a W against the Boston Celtics. We'll into that next year on the Locked On Bulls postcast here on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I've been telling you guys for a while that this is a leg up that FanDuel is giving you that a lot of other betting sites do not, or sports books do not give you, to be able to have everything at your fingertips, to make an informed bet on the same page where you place your bets. It just streamlines the whole entire process for you. So just visit FanDuel.com today to join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's $150 that FanDuel is giving you for just placing, and winning your first $5 bet. So make a smart bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, we've highlighted Zach LaVine and Ayo and what they did in this game, but I think the big reason why, besides just those two, the Bulls got this win 117-108 over the Boston Celtics was what you got from Julian Phillips and Taylor Horton-Tucker. 19 points combined, 2 for 10 from the three-point line. So, the raw stats don't look great for those two guys, but high-effort motor plays really throughout this game. We'll go back to the one I briefly mentioned earlier. Early on in the second quarter, THT is going to the bucket, and he just, little pass behind his back, and Julian Phillips gets the slam. That really was kind of a momentum builder as the Bulls started to come back into this game. Julian Phillips got another and one later, and he got the bucket this time, which is something I feel like I write down and one opportunity a lot for Julian Phillips and doesn't come through. But he gets the and one, and the Bulls are up 44-31 in that moment. So just another impactful play where, look, Boston went on a run right after that. So you need these little moments from guys like that, and really just a good play there. THT really was kind of just like all over the place in this game. Like, he's fun to watch. He's just like, it is really like a giant bowling ball, like bowling the China shop, like watching him play, just kind of rumbling and bumbling and stumbling around. It's so different watching him play, I feel like, than most players. But at the end of the third quarter there, Jason Tatum hits the three, kind of a wild three. It puts the Celtics up 86-80, and that was a second three in a row by the Boston Celtics. So you're kind of feeling like, okay, Boston's up 6 going into the fourth quarter, but THT runs down the court, puts up a little floater shot, hits it off the bank, and then puts the Bulls only down 4. Then he immediately comes out in the fourth quarter. He hits a three, it ties it. He gets another bucket. Taylor Horton-Tucker does to put the Bulls up 92-90. And then really when the Bulls started to finally kind of pull away from this game and give themselves a substantial lead for the first time, because when they hit the 4 at one point, so they're up 4 points, that's their largest lead of the game. They're not really able to get anything past that against the Celtics in the fourth quarter. Julian Phillips, he comes through with his 1-3 of the night and puts the Bulls up 7. And really that's where, that's kind of where things took over. Pretty quickly, Ayo hit another 3 that put them up 9. And that's when things started to fall apart, where you get all the technical fouls that, it was uncharacteristic, I would say, of the Celtics. Joel Mazzulla, I guess, was really called for his tech because he's on the court as the Bulls and Celtics are, battling for the loose ball there. But he gets the tech, and then Jaylen Brown gets the tech, and the Bulls are up 5. And then later on, Jason Tatum gets another one. So it was kind of an uncharacteristic night for the Celtics, but this is one of those where, I don't care. I'm not a Celtics fan. I'm a Bulls fan. So you can be as bad as you are shooting, as uncharacteristically undisciplined as you can be, getting 3 technical fouls with only a handful of minutes, and just making things easier for the Bulls. But I just thought Julian Phillips and THT had some really valuable moments in this game tonight. The other part with Phillips too was before the and one. This is what I forgot. The and one before the and one. There was a missed shot by the Bulls, and he goes up and just tips it out of there, and they get the possession back. And then they get another missed shot where he gets the rebound, and that's when he puts the shot up to go for and gets the and one. So it's those little things that these guys are just doing that, without Dalen Terry, I think, obviously not playing in this game, kind of part of that, but of what we've seen from the Bulls' successes in moments this year from the bench, those are the kind of the guys that they change the pace. And Julian Phillips, I don't know what his peak is for the Bulls. I'm not sure his ceiling's that high, honestly, but there are games like this where he can have these just valuable minutes for the Chicago Bulls, especially when you're so depleted. But look, they're +9 total between the two of them. So they were -4. I guess THT was a -4 on the night. Whatever. I don't really care. Plus minus to me is not as important stat as it is to other. But 5 rebounds, 10 points for Julian Phillips, 9 points, 3 rebounds for THT, and just a couple really important plays for the Chicago Bulls in this game. So the Bulls win 117-108 over the Boston Celtics. They moved to 13-15 on the season, giving Boston only their 6th loss on the year. And the Bulls are on their first 3-game winning streak of the entire 2024-2025 season, beating the Hornets, Raptors, and Celtics. And they will play Boston again on Saturday night. And look, this is a tough stretch. Boston, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Milwaukee are your next 4 games. So the schedule makers did the Bulls no favors. But look, this is even one of those two where, like, if you are very pro-tank, 3-game win streak, and seeing what happens next, like, if you don't want the Bulls players to convince the front office of doing something you don't want, which is keeping their guys, you better not be rooting for many wins over the next couple days, because this is the kind of stretch that I feel like gets someone like AK and the Reinsdorf family to flip their opinions. I wouldn't flip my opinions. I would stick with the plan of rebuilding the Bulls, but enjoy it while you can. The Bulls beat the Celtics 117-108, moved to 2 games under 500. So that will do it for this episode of the Locked On Sports Chicago, on the Locked On Sports Chicago YouTube channel of the Locked On Bulls Postcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening as well to Locked On Bulls on YouTube, because they do great content every single day, 5 days a week, just pumping out Bulls content, getting you ready for all things around the trade deadline. Reminder, we will be live on Friday night after, as soon as Notre Dame and Indiana wraps up, and then again for the Bulls game on Saturday and for the Bears game on Sunday. So that will do it for us. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate you. Bulls win 117-108 over the Boston Celtics. We will talk to you for the next Bulls Postcast on Saturday. Peace.